Hi, this is Carolyn Jaymes from Holistic Campus, and I'm here today with a founding practitioner, Susan Gale. And I was hoping that she would take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about her modality. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Carolyn. I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Oh,
It's
it's
just,
so great to have you.
it's just a wonderful thing that's being done here, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
So can you tell us, I know what you do is very fascinating and deep, but how would you describe it to someone?
well, I'm a teacher, and I help people understand how to do all the things that many of your other practitioners do for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that I was going to be a teacher when I was about 8 years old. And I was in my classroom, and all of a sudden the classroom went away, and there was this great big white circular light that took up the whole room. And out of that light came a voice that said, "You're going to be a teacher." Now, I didn't think, didn't have a reaction to it except that, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do then. And I never told anybody about it until I started this kind of work. But my mother did tell me. I came home from school one day and told her I was going to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And so that must have been the same day that the voice told me I was going to be a teacher.
And it wasn't the principal over the intercom, was it?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. I've heard that voice maybe 3 or 4 times in my whole life. And
Wow.
one other time was when it told me that I met someone and it told me I was going to have his child within 5 minutes after I met him. That was not something that I messed around with either. When the child came, the child came.
Yeah.
So it's an important voice, but it doesn't speak to me very often.
Mm.
So I became a teacher. I taught, in public school. I had my own school, and I ran camps. I did all kinds of things with children. But then after all of that was done, I had met a child in an early childhood program who had been diagnosed as autistic, but I didn't think he was autistic. And to make a very long story short, he was a telepath, and he didn't see any need to talk. He knew what everybody else was saying, and when I called my son in to speak with him, because my son is a telepath at will, he told him they're so slow and clumsy to talk out loud. And besides, nobody has anything worth listening to anyway, so why do I want to talk to them? And my son convinced him it was to his advantage to become bilingual.
Oh, yes.
And within 30 days, he had a speaking vocabulary of about 25 words after talking to my son.
Wow.
So I was thinking, how many people do we miss because we look at them through the wrong lens?
Mm-hmm.
And because I'd always worked with children, I wanted to open a place for children who could be seen through the correct lens in order for them to understand what they were doing, or for their parents to understand what was going on.
Right.
Because that took 5 minutes, where he has been in therapy and speech therapy and all these kinds of things for over a year.
Mm.
And that took 5 minutes. So it just seemed to me I should do that.
And it makes you wonder how many kids are
How
just
many,
have
how
a
many,
label slapped on them.
how many kids, how many adults?
Mm.
How many adults are being treated for anxiety when all they are is an empath? And if they learned how to control those empathic abilities and make them useful for themselves, then they wouldn't have to worry with all of this being anxious and having to go to therapy and that kind of thing.
And that's such important work, Susan. That's so important.
So that's what I do. I teach a class. The main thing that I do is I teach a class called Living in Your Heart. And it's a class for people who are very committed to their own growth. I teach them how to trust their souls, how to teach their brain and their body to trust what they are saying, because I believe we are a soul. We're not the mind, we're not the body, we are the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to teach our bodies and our minds to accept that The brain likes to listen to other brains. It doesn't like to listen to intuition. It's been trained by at least in Western society, it's been trained to think that's nonsense.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for someone brought up in a Western culture to understand that they have to teach their brain to trust the language of the soul, which I call intuition.
Right.
And the soul knows so much more than the brain does.
Yeah, of course it does.
So
I'm sorry.
I create situations where it is impossible to use the brain or the five senses to know things. For instance, we might hold something in a closed fist, and the other person has to tell you what it is.
Wow.
And there's no way that you can use your brain or your body to know that. You have to trust what your soul knows. You have to trust that the energy of your soul can connect with the energy of that stone and then tell you what it is.
Right.
Or what many people say, use your intuition.
Well, exactly. So I know we're going to be doing a sample session in a little while, which is
yes.
But just so, what do you feel? That's so important, and thank you for explaining that. So, what do you feel on the other side, if you will, or the benefits that are being brought to someone that goes through these classes and some of the sessions you do?
One of my most cherished comments are when people tell me I've never been happier. Because when things happen to them, they know what to do with that energy that gets them stressed or unhappy or depressed, especially when there's no reason for it. They know how to handle it. It still happens. I'm, learning this doesn't mean nothing unpleasant is ever going to happen to you again, but you have the tools to deal with it. And you have a way of life that minimizes those things happening to you. A lot of it is about a way of life that you live, and that you can go a whole day without saying anything unkind about a person, place, or event. That you can walk and interact with people, even if you can't stand them, you can walk and interact with them from a place of love instead of what your brain is telling you to do.
Right, which I'm sure can be difficult.
And so this is not a quick fix. I mean, it takes people quite a while. I've had people who've studied with me for as long as 8 years. And, right now I have 2 classes. One is really new, about 4 months, and the other one's about 1.5 years. And they say, oh, we're finally understanding what we're doing, because it's so different from what they're used to.
And everyone's at a different level and a different path. So, well, thank you so much, Susan. This is wonderful. And we'll connect again in a minute.
Yes, thank you.
Take care.
You too.